Good morning, everybody, again. Good morning. The last few weeks, I put out some feelers and said if anyone had any questions they wanted addressed or subjects they wanted touched on for sermons, kind of this is an Ask the Pastor kind of series. And a question came up, well, what about Romans 13, verses 1 through 8? We live in some interesting political times. I'm not sure we've ever not lived in interesting political times, but they are particularly interesting these days. And we look at leadership and we have our opinions about it, and so someone might look and say, does this apply all the time? You know, what about if I don't like the leader? What about if I don't respect the leader? What about, there might be a lot of questions about this in bumpy political times. We live in a very divided country right now. Again, not sure that we've never not been divided. But we are pretending not to be divided, I'll say that much, in a way we haven't in many years. And so you have divides, you have red states and blue states, and you've got, you know, the left wing and the right wing. And as somebody pointed out, that's part of the same bird, isn't it? So, so we're still in the same boat, regardless of what side of the boat you're on. But how do we, as Christians, decipher Romans 13 in troubled political times? And how do Christians in other countries? There are Christians who live in totalitarian states who still have to read Romans 13 and are still expected to live and honor Christ through Romans 13. How are they supposed to do that? So what is a truth that is true for Christians at all times at this verse, regardless of who sits on a position of authority and lords over us as a ruler? So what is our highest allegiance as those who follow Jesus Christ? Well, a little background. I want to back up in Scripture before we tackle Romans and look at how Jesus dealt with this. Think about this. Jesus, we know, is the rightful King of Kings and Lord of Lords, is he not? Yes. He sat on the right hand. He sits now on the right hand of the Father. He came from glory down to us to redeem us, went back, and he carried that kingly authority with him. Yet he humbled himself, Philippians 2 says, right? And became a servant. So the King of Kings becomes a servant, and he puts himself in the real world, not in a position of authority or power, but as someone who is subservient and subject to those authorities. Now, he teaches yet with authority, and those who are his enemies, some of the religious leaders of the day, political leaders of the day, recognize that he teaches with a special authority, and often seems to put himself in this authority as he's addressing concerns of his day. So they want to trick him and trap him by getting him to say something that can get him arrested and get him punished according to their desires. So we go to Matthew 22, and start with verse 15. It says this: Now the Pharisees went and counseled together how they might trap him, and that's Jesus, and what he said. And they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are truthful, and teach the way of God in truth, and defer to no one, for you are not partial to any. Now, this is, politicians never change. If a politician wants something from you, what do they usually start with? Flattery, right? You ever dealt with a politician, and they call you to their office, or there's something they want to talk to you about, and they have political, you're the greatest person they ever met in their life. Boy, you're an outstanding citizen, we've seen what you've done, and I tell you, call our attention, right? You know, you've never heard Hudson talk like that, have you? Of course you have, you know. They butter you up, they lather you up, they're setting you up for something. Either they want or they want to do to you. And in Jesus' case, they were setting him up for something they wanted to do to him. They figured, well, we got to start and lead with the charm and lead with the flattery. So they come out and just give him all these roles. Jesus, you're great, you're a teacher, you're fair, no one can trick you, right? And he knows they're trying to trick him right now. That's right. Jesus is aware, the Bible tells us, of what was in people's hearts. And so they ask him this question after they think they set him up. Tell us, therefore, what do you think? Is it lawful to give a poll tax to Caesar or not? Now that's a trick question, because he knows they're an occupied country. That's right. He knows they're hated by the Jews there. They're in their backyard telling them what to do, not regarding any rights to them, not giving them any slack, oppressing them day after day with all kinds of lawful things and unlawful things. And he knows this. And they know this. They ask the trick question thinking, man, he's going to say, support Caesar, and the people will do what? They'll hate him. The Jews will disregard everything he says, but they're not going to listen to him because now we can get him to side with us. What's he going to say? If he says no, then we can get him for being rebellious. And we can arrest and punish him. This is a no-win situation for Jesus. We got him this time. But Jesus perceived their malice. And what did he say? He's more direct than they thought. Why are you testing me, you hypocrites? I mean, that's pretty strong. Anytime someone tells you that Jesus is meek and mild, meaning he's milquetoast and then call people to stand up what's right, ignore that. Jesus was direct. Who in the world calls people hypocrites to their face? I don't do that. But Jesus said, you got a hypocrite. What are you talking about? I know why you're here. He says, show me the coin for the poll tax. They were thinking, why do you want to look at the coin? See, Jesus was a master teacher. Many times a teacher answers the question with what? Another question. Or you give the teacher a test, and the teacher has a harder test. You say, give me a coin. You're like, oh, okay. So they bring him one, which is kind of comical. You know, they submit to his request. Okay, well, here, what do you do with this? So they brought him a denarius. He said to them, whose likeness and inscription is this? They're like, we don't know who this is. Caesar's, they said. And what did Jesus say to them? He said, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and what? Unto God the things that are God's. And they said, man, he got us again, you know? Who's going to argue with that? You give Caesar what he deserves. It's coin. You pay him what he do. But man, you give God what's God's. Who's going to argue with that? And they walked away in shame and embarrassment because they hadn't tricked the master teacher. But Jesus' answer sets a foundation for us to look at Romans 13. We look at Romans 13 not as some kind of overarching thing that says we never take God into account. We take God into account for everything. Jesus is saying when we look at politics, when we look at all the things we have to do, regulations, and then all the things we deal with government and people, God's sovereignty paints it all. God's sovereignty is the foundation of that. We don't look at anything without looking at God first. And say, Lord, as someone who follows you, as someone who loves you, as someone who submits to you as the sovereign king of everything, how do I approach anything else, up to and including politics, if I follow Jesus Christ? What does that mean? The sovereignty of God paints the way I approach politics. It paints the way I approach Caesar. Caesar's to be respected, but God outranks Caesar. And the way I approach Caesar is flavored by my knowledge of God. So we go to Romans 13. It's certainly read for us, and it's pretty hard-hitting, isn't it? I mean, it lays it down that God sets up authorities. You're to obey authorities. I mean, that can be a tough pill to swallow. Because sometimes authorities don't seem to be worthy of the respect they're asked for. You ever been in a situation like that where someone is positioned over you, and you know, based on their character, behavior, and record, this person doesn't deserve to be telling you anything. But they're in a position of authority over you, and you really don't have a choice. You have to do what? What they say. You have to submit and do what they say, right? And that's a tough position to be in, but here he says, first of all, realize nothing happens without God. God has established authorities. He's established positions. Why? For human order. Imagine if there were no rulers, there were no leaders. I mean, it would be chaos, right? That's called anarchy. You know, and anarchists think they want no leadership, but if we had no leadership, we'd have chaos, wouldn't we? If an anarchist got what they wanted, I could walk up, punch them in the face, and they say, hey, what are you doing? Call the police. Nope, no police, right? No authorities. Police have authority, right? You don't want government authority, you can't have police. So I can punch you again. Bam, man, how bam, what you do, back to work? You're an anarchist, you don't want it, right? So God understands that don't work. He said, for that reason, he establishes authority. So even in the angelic realm, there are authorities. We don't war against flesh and blood, but against what? Against powers, principalities. Even demons and angels acknowledge each other's rank. You realize that, right? He said, even Gabriel said to Satan, what? The Lord rebuke you. Because he's outranked. Isn't that kind of crazy? So even in that angelic realm, there's rank that we don't understand, but God has set up authority. And we're to live by that authority. So he goes into that in Romans, but what does that mean? We read those verses where he says that everyone be subject to government authorities. Nothing's been established but what God has established. He goes on through verse 8 there. What does that mean? It's a matter of heart and attitude to get down to it. You boil down all those words he says, and he's asking us to adapt our hearts and attitudes. Don't be a rebel for the sake of being a rebel. When you're a teenager, you're kind of rebellious. You know, even if you're, I was a pretty good teenager, but there was just something rebellious in me. I don't know what it was. You just reach this age, you think you know more than everybody else. Anybody remember being like that as a teenager? So people try to tell you something. You remember my dad tried to tell me something, and I wouldn't say it. I wasn't that crazy, but you know, I was thinking, man, I think you know what you're talking about. I know better. You know, I didn't say that, but I'm thinking it. And he's trying to help me. But I'm listening to the Bible and saying, no, you don't understand, Dad. I got this one. I'm not taking into account what he was a teenager once. And he's past being a teenager. And he's made mistakes. And he's trying to help me by saying, son, I walked off a cliff. Guess what? You don't have to. Exactly. And I said to Mark, no, I want to feel the cliff there. You know, well, learn the hard way, son, right? Okay. We tend to do that. We can be rebellious for rebellious sake. He said, don't be a rebel. Right. Just to be a rebel. He says, realize this new authority are established by God, that they're there to maintain order and general safety, and it calls for protocol. That means we respect. You know, one good thing about military service is you learn protocol. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, there are people that you look at and say, man, how did this person get here? But you look at what's in their collar or their headgear, what do? You salute. You salute. In some cases, you're saluting the rank, not the person. In some cases, you're saluting both. And you refer to police saluting both, but there are times it's just protocol. That guy is an idiot. He's a jerk. He can't leave himself in a paper bag, but he's got the right rank. That's right. And so what do? You salute and drive on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. Right? You give them everything they need. Everything they want because they're in a position of authority. But that's a good lesson for life. Because sometimes you're just stuck in one of those positions where someone has authority over you and they don't deserve it. They're there and you got to deal with it. So there's protocol issues. So that means that sometimes there might be somebody in a certain location, in a certain position, and you don't like them. But how do you address them? That's why I think whoever is the president, you call them President X, whoever they are. You don't say, I don't like you, so you're X. No, who are you to say that? Regardless of what we think, according to our laws, that person's in a position. The president before the one we have now, there are people who didn't like him. So what did they say? Obama, right? That was disrespectful. Because why? Basically the rest of his life, he's being addressed as what? President Obama. There's some people who don't like our current occupant of that office. But guess what? That person is what? The President of the United States. So he ain't just Trump. He is what? President Trump. I have to like him, but you have to honor that position. Does that make sense? Brother, man, you were crazy. I might be, but I'm biblical too. All right now. And it says, give honor to whom honor is due. What? Tribute to tribute, tax to tax. So it doesn't say like it. It says obey it. Why? Because when you're in that position, how's your supposed to treat you? Guess what? You're in a position of authority, some of you, and there might be someone who doesn't like you, believe it or not. There are probably some of you who don't particularly like me, you know. But I at least want to be respected as a human being. I don't assume everybody likes me. I know everybody doesn't like me. Any leader, any position, people sometimes just put up with you, right? Uh-oh. Because they have to. Say, well, you know, I'm stuck here. I don't like you. I'll put up with you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very well. And they give it you. They give you due. They're not enthusiastic about it, but they at least respect the position, right? So it's protocol. Yes. Because when you're in that position, you want that protocol to be in full effect. When you're in that position, you want people to honor you. So what do? The golden rule: do unto others, do unto you. They may not like you, but you expect them to go according to protocol. So we honor the ones to whom honors due, not because they're honorable, but they're in a position of honor. Yes. Again, you're saluting the rank, not the person. You're not saying the greatest person on earth. If you ask for an evaluation, give an honest evaluation. It's like, sir, I love you. You know, I appreciate your position, but I think you're a jerk. You know, because the leaders ask you that. And the military say, well, man to man, what do you think? You really want to know? Well, sir, you know, let me tell you. Well, you know, you better do a little tact. They're still in charge, but you got what I'm saying. If they want an honest answer, sometimes you have to give them an honest answer. They go, whoa, did you ask for an honest answer? That's what I honestly think. So understand protocol. Give everyone what you owe them. There's taxes, taxes, revenue, revenue, respect, respect, honor, honor. Now, they may not deserve honor, but they deserve respect.
That's right.
Right? Honor is, boy, you are the greatest ever. We are recognizing your outstanding leadership. That's honor. They might be due that, but they are due what? Respect.
Respect.
So he covers these bases. You don't have to give them this, you don't have to go through accolades at them, but you got to respect their position. That's what Paul says. We're to be faithful citizens, faithful to pray for our leaders and respect them. That they're a jerk, pray for them. Do you believe God inhabits his prayers and he answers the prayers of his people? How will you pray for the nation and civil leadership? Honestly. Don't have to answer me, but answer for yourself. If you're not praying for people in charge, don't be surprised they don't change. You're not praying. You're not praying for the situation. Don't be surprised it doesn't change. How would you pray for our nation? If they ain't changing, maybe we ain't praying. Right? Pray for those leadership.
Don't say that.
How do you address those authority? How do you voice disagreement? All those things. Be faithful and respectful. And faithful to your own responsibilities. We live in a place where you can vote. Do you vote? Do you pay taxes? Do you pay your fees? All that? Those are all civic duties that fall under Romans 13. Right? I mean, I don't like everything we have to do, but, you know, as a citizen, I like the public services, right? I like police, I like firefighters, I like running water and electricity, stuff like that. So what do? Pay for it, right? They have to make a living too. I mean, people need to work, they need jobs. So those who protect us, those who serve us, we pay for it. IRS, you know, that's right. Now sometimes they pay for $500 hammers too, but you know what I'm saying. Supposed to pay for stuff that we actually use. And so we pay those things. We're faithful of with those responsibilities that have been placed on us as citizens. Be faithful to your Christian convictions so that all can see your goodness and your faithfulness. How? Well, 2 Timothy 2:15 says this, be diligent to present yourselves approved to God as a workman who does not need to be ashamed, handling accurately the word of truth. Think about this. It goes beyond just accurately handling the Bible. It's how do you live your life. Amen. Would you be ashamed before God if he saw your work in his name? Well, what work? Well, Colossians says, whatsoever you do what? With all your might as unto the Lord, not to people, not to men. So that means everything we do as Christians is a mark of our Christian work.
That's it, man.
So it says, study yourself to be approved, an approved work. So God looks at your life and says, man, that's a life that I can stand by. They're walking in my name, and I approve of your life. You know, you heard Popton? We approve of this message. You want God to say, I approve of your life. That's right. Or you're going to say, boy, you're not really hitting it there. You're kind of missing the mark there. He wants us to be on target.
Yes, sir. Come on.
He says you're the salt of the earth. You're the light of the world. Are you living like salt and light? Or do you bring the flavor of the Lord to all that you do? Do you illuminate situations? Do you cast more darkness on them? He's saying here that those are ways that our lives should reflect where our allegiance is, where our loyalty is.
Amen.
Hopefully that's right. Hopefully that's right. Hopefully. Faithfully obey the law and be of good reputation. So do you want to be free from fear of the ones in authority? Then do what is right and you'll be commended. You know, the girls sometimes laugh at me. You know, there is a thing, I'm going to get a little look, a DWB. Who knows what DWB is?
Driving while black.
Driving while black. That is a thing. But you know what I make it a habit of doing? Driving the speed limit. So that if I get pulled over and tell me a DWB, it ain't enough speed My lights work, my blinkers work, my brakes work, I'm paying attention, my phone is where it's put away, because if somebody pulls me over, they mess with me. Guaranteed, I'm not going to give them an excuse. If I'm speeding, guess what? Don't matter if I'm black or not, I'm speeding. I put myself in a position by doing what? Breaking the law. Now, I'm not a legalist, but I'm just saying, I'm being for real. It's still my fault. If I'm speeding, I'm pulled over. It's still my fault, right?
That's right.
But I was driving, but what? You were doing 60 in a 55 zone. Well, it doesn't matter. You know? You're speeding. What do I got to say? The rest of traffic lights, stop the traffic, I stop you. As one policeman officer said, he said, you ever been duck hunting? Yes, sir. We did get them all. So, guess what? You're the lucky duck today. You got caught, you know? So, the point is, obey the law. Because he says here, you know, if you do wrong, be afraid. Don't do wrong. I mean, if you walk in righteousness and wrong is done to you, you can stand before God and people and say, look, I am innocent of this. I didn't do this. They're messing with me, and I'm standing on that. And you have the peace of heart. That doesn't mean it's going to go your way. You have the peace of heart and say, what? I walked in righteousness, and this is wrong. And God's with you in that. If you suffer. But he says, so don't suffer being a wrongdoer. Don't break the law, and that's the same thing you're going to break. You might get a break, you might not. But if you've broken the law, it's out of your hands. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm not saying that I like it or I think that the speeding tickets are all that, but if you break the law, you're vulnerable. He says, don't do that. Faithful to participate meaningfully in community life. As a church, why do we reach out? We're part of a community. We serve. You're at school and you're part of the PTA and things like that. Or some of you are part of civic organizations that do good in that. We're to be part of the community. That's good citizenship, isn't it? That's Romans 13 stuff. We're showing the goodness of God. And then faithful to be a good neighbor. What did the Lord say here in Mark and all throughout the gospel? Love the Lord your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second commandment is akin to what? Love your neighbor as yourself. Are you a good neighbor? Do you love those around you? Jesus said, love those who hate you, who persecute you, talk about you. Are you loving? Are you being a good citizen, being a good neighbor? Trying, that's right. You're trying. That's all you do is try. I'm not saying we're always successful, but we try. The good thing is for God, trying is good enough. No, you try is good enough. He knows you're not perfect, but try to be a good neighbor. Now the question is, okay, Pastor, you told us this, but come on. You're saying we got to obey authority no matter what. No, I'm not. Is there a time to disobey political authority?
Yes, sir.
Yes, there is. How do you know? Well, being a good citizen means doing the right thing when nobody's looking or listening, doing the right thing when you easy to get away with doing wrong. That's part of it. There's another equation too. Good citizenship means obeying Christ even when the authorities tell you not to. So it's a two-pronged thing. It's doing the right thing, but it's also not doing the wrong thing or doing the right thing when somebody says do the wrong thing. And government will tell you do the wrong thing. When did that happen? Well, some of you who are old enough and know, think of the Vietnam War, remember a place called My Lai, right?
That's right.
Where a commander gave his troops the command to do what? To kill unarmed civilians.
And they did.
And they did it. And a few didn't do it. And guess who the ones who were right? The ones who did not participate were right. And the ones who did it ended up getting court-martialed. Why? Because that was a wrong thing. It broke the laws of warfare. It broke everything in human decency. And still they did it. Because sometimes government will tell you to do what? The wrong thing. And you have to have the courage to do the right thing. So when authority asks you to do something that violates God's commandments and principles, you don't obey it. Why? Well, I'll give you an example. Anybody remember this? The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, when you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth, on delivery, if you see the baby is a boy, what? Kill him. If it's a girl, let her live. Now, how would you deal with that? Well, the boss told me, right? He's in charge. It's the Pharaoh, he's the king. What am I going to do? Pharaoh says, kill The boys, what do? I kill the boys. Pharaoh says that the girls live, but what did they say? It says, the midwives, however, what? Feared God.
Come on now.
We feared God, not men. Right? So they feared God. And did not do what the king of Egypt told them to do, and they let the boys live.
Praise God.
They stood up to praise God. Think if they had killed the boys. They would have killed Moses. They didn't kill Joshua. They didn't kill Caleb. You see, we don't kill babies.
Yeah.
See what we kill? We kill babies in this country. People are political. You know what's in there? One's the tax base. We have $1 billion deficit. Guess who's going to generate those taxes? Those millions of kids we killed? They'd be working now. You ever think about that? Those workers we generating what? Money. Which we have a deficit. Now, we don't even have enough children to take care of us. Why? We killed most of them. So now there's more of us being baby boomers, if you're a baby boomer or older, what? Than them. Right? You see what I'm saying? There's consequences, unintended consequences of disobedience.
That's right. Say that.
If they had killed these kids, they'd have killed the salvation. The Lord said, man, I got some good things. I got Moses coming to kill. This is going to be great. Just don't kill the kid. Don't kill him. And the midwife listened to the Spirit of God and said, you know what? We ain't killing these babies. God is with us. And I'd rather get punished by God, or punished by Pharaoh, than punished by God.
Amen.
And I'm not going to do what he told me to do. So if the authorities say do something that's wrong, don't do it. You have the responsibility as a Christian to stand up for what is right. The outcome's not guaranteed, by the way. Understand that too. I mean, there are often consequences to doing the right thing. Earthly consequences. Because of their eternal consequences, not doing the right thing, right? So he says here, obey God, not people. When authority is not to be obeyed, when idolatry is demanded, worship something other than God, or water down your worship of God. Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you not serve my gods, or worship the image of gold I set up? I can't believe it. Now, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, and lyre, the pipe, and music, if you're ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. Now think about this. This is convincing, isn't it? The emperor said, I must have misheard this. You guys are good citizens. And I heard you in worship. All you got to do, he's reading with, right? Come, let us read together, right? I'm reading. Now, when I play this song, all you guys got to do is just bow to the image. It's really easy. And you guys are great citizens, and you're going to not disappoint me. But if you do not worship, you'll be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hands? I know how God's work. Ain't no God can do what you guys are thinking to do. So come on, let's be real here. Just bow to the image, and we'll just put this behind us, and it'll all be good. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves for you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. He knows what's coming, so you know he's getting mad now because he's not hearing what he wants to hear. You're not singing the right song there, gentlemen. No, that's not what I was expecting. And they go on. They said, he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, about consequences, right? They understand God may choose in his sovereignty to say what? You guys are going to perish in those flames. For my sake. Even if he does not want you to know, your majesty, we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. We ain't going to do it.
That's right.
If we die, we just got to die. And we know the rest of the story, right? Nebuchadnezzar was furious, had them heat up the fire so hot, the people that threw them in the fire died. But then he almost had a heart attack when he saw not 3 people in the fire, but what?
But 4.
But 4, because the Lord was with them. And God, if they had died, he'd still been with them. We do what is right in the sight of the Lord. When authority is not to be obeyed, when an edict or law enables evil. Queen Esther is queen, and we know that Haman is desiring evil for the Hebrews. He's cooking up this plot. He's going to destroy the Hebrews. It's a new law. Now, she could say nothing. She said nothing, she'd spare her life, right? And then Mordecai very wisely says, don't think you're going to be spared. Word of Greek's going to get out. You're Jewish. He doesn't know it now, but he's going to find out. And you think he's going to spare you? You think they want to apply this law to you? They live by the letter of the law. Don't think you can get past this. And then Esther sent this reply. Go gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days or night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, against the king, even though it's against the law. And if I perish, let me perish.
Man.
I love that verse. She's saying, you know what? Y'all pray for me. Y'all fast for me. We're going to go to the Lord for this. And I'm going to do what's right. And if I die doing what's right, I'm going to die. I'm going to do what is right. So somebody trying to get you to say, don't say anything. Be quiet. You know, you spare yourself. She said, I'm not sparing myself. It's not right. My people are going to die. If I die with them, I'm going to die. I'm going to do what is right.
That's right.
The Lord give me the ability to see that. So we do what's right. We don't submit to evil authority. Consideration to keep in mind of cause to disobey Caesar. Obeying God at the cost of disobeying Caesar does not guarantee the outcome. There are earthly victories like the 3 Hebrew boys, but also heavenly victories that look like earthly losses. Do you understand that? You can win a heavenly victory that looks like a loss.
That's right. Come on.
In the circumstance. What do I mean by that? Think of what is said here in Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11 is a great Hall of Fame chapter. It talks about all these victories of those who trusted God over the centuries. But this is inserted in that passage. There were others who were tortured, refusing to be released so they might gain a better resurrection. Some faced jeers and flogging, even chains and imprisonment. They were put to death by stoning. They were sawed in two, and they were killed by the sword. They went around in sheepskins and goatskins, destitute, persecuted, and mistreated. Now, who wants to sign up for that? Nobody, right? No, raise their hand. Good. We don't sign up for that. But guess what? It does happen to people who follow Christ. This is, the very beginning of the church. And back before that, those who followed the Lord. And guess what? Since that time, there are more persecuted Christians now than the history of the church. In modern times, the persecution has actually increased. As we speak, there are places that people live that when you find out you're a Christian, you will die. Or be severely punished. So this isn't past tense. This is present day even. There are people who suffer for standing for the Lord. And he said, what? The world was not worthy of it. They wandered in desert and mountains, living in caves, holes in the ground. Yet these were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised. So in their flesh and in their life today, they didn't get what was promised. They died appearing what? Empty-handed. But Jesus said, don't put up for yourselves treasures on earth that the moth can eat and rust can erode, but treasure in heaven. You think they're living high on the hog now? You better believe it. With crowns, with glory. The here, the sky, and the pie, by and by. That's the reality of what the Bible says we have to look forward to. Because even if you live high on the hog, you'll die one day. You know, we're my dad's stuff. I'm still doing my dad's stuff. I talked about that a few weeks ago. I am still doing this stuff, you know. We got to move all this stuff. And I'm thinking, and then Lord, when we die, somebody's got to move this up again. You know, and it's just stuff. And it doesn't have eternal value. It won't last forever. I'm looking and saying, this isn't going to, we're doing all this effort to move it, and in probably 100 years, it's not going to exist. But we got to move it. I can't not move it. You know what I'm saying? It's just a nuisance, isn't it? When you think about it. Stuff is a nuisance. It says, don't invest your time and your energy in stuff. Invest in the Lord.
Hallelujah.
That's where it lasts forever. Our citizenship is in heaven. These folks understood that, and they endured. Romans 13 is not a call to blind obedience to government, but to righteous citizenship. Be righteous in attitude. Let your attitude be godly. Let your conduct be godly. Be righteous in conduct. Walk with God. You walk with God, these situations won't catch you by surprise. You'll be prepared.
Amen. Amen.
And stand for God. So when the time comes, you can stand up to temptation. Here's the description that we should strive for. I was reading an article in the New York Times about President Carter, and know what you love about him in terms politically, but think about this in his faith. It says, even when he isn't teaching Sunday school, his unwavering Christian faith informs everything he says and does. Would you like somebody to say that about you? Say, everything they do their faith is born through. Everything they do, you can see they submit to Christ. Every Christian should want that said about them. That whatever you do, they do it from a heart for God. That's quite a testimony, isn't it? That's his testimony. It reminds me of what was said about the apostles in Acts 4. It says, when they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized they were unschooled, these guys hadn't been trained, they're nobodies, but they realized, these ordinary men, what? They were astonished and took note, these men had been with Jesus. When people take note that you've been with Jesus, they take note that you know Christ, they take note that you are Jesus' follower, that's what politically matters. It doesn't matter if I'm red or blue,
That's right.
left or right, Democrat, Republican, Independent, that doesn't matter. It matters that do I know Christ? And is he shaping my life? Is he informing my decision? Is he leading my walk? That's what matters.
Yes,
am I a man to be counted on to walk in righteousness, do what's right, to be fair, reasonable, to be kind, loving? What does my character reflect? That's what's important. I don't care what people call me. If I'm black, am I a Christ follower?
Hallelujah.
That's what lasts. That's what matters. So what kind of citizen are you? How people look at your faith? They take note that you've been with Jesus. These are traits that aren't limited by our politics or whatever else other affiliation we have. They're marks of heavenly citizenship. That's where our citizenship lies. Don't need a passport. Don't need a visa. Aren't you glad? You were trying to get a visa in another country. You know how hard that could be? I mean, it can be tough. You know, there are countries that have limited access, and you can spend years trying to get in, right? The visa. All we do is go to the Lord. Ask, right? And you will receive. Knock, the door will be open. Seek, you will find. Isn't that great?
Yes, sir.
No visa, no passport required. Just knock, ask, and seek.
Yes, sir.
And God promises to open the door for you as a citizen of heaven. So as you go about your business and these political arguments come, and they're going to come. And Christians will take different sides. I'm going to tell you what side to take. I don't really care, honestly. But I do care that you, even in voicing your opinion, be like Christ. As you stand for what you believe is right, reflect your Christian faith. As you engage with people who totally disagree with you, love them. Pray for them. Be kind, generous, considerate. I don't really want to see people that are part of our fellowship slamming folks online with negative comments.
Come on, say that.
Why? It doesn't reflect Christ. They might disagree. You might get mad. You can show a little heat, but show a lot of love. And say, you know, I disagree with you, but man, I mean, we were talking about that Starbucks thing, and I said, you know, yeah, it makes me mad, but still, you know, we've got to reflect Christ in dealing with it.
That's right.
No, when we go to Starbucks, I went to Starbucks this week, and I've only been there 3 times my whole life, and I got to admit, I waited until they got there. We ordered something immediately, and I didn't use the bathroom. You know, I was very careful. So what happened this week? But nonetheless, regardless of the way I feel about that, I had to exhibit Christ-like behavior. If people go there with an attitude, they got my order wrong, and I didn't say, oh yeah, I got my order wrong, y'all picking on me. No, I didn't do that. I just say, I represent a heavenly citizenship. I represent Christ. Oh, that's okay. I'll wait for it. That's fine. Why? How much energy does that take? Be kind. It doesn't take all that much energy. It takes more energy to be mad than to be kind. You're pounding your fist and yelling, guess what? Your blood pressure's going up, you know, you're messing stuff up. You just say, oh, praise God, you know, I can deal with it. Even the Bible says, even in your anger, don't sin.
Yeah.
You know? So you should represent Christ when you're angry. Think about it. Think about the disappointment Jesus felt when Peter denied him. What did he do? He didn't yell for the whole, that little courtroom, yeah, Peter, there you are, deny me, I knew it. Told you! Count on you, God. Didn't say anything. All he did was do what? Looked at him. You imagine how that look cut Peter? He wept just from a look. But look at how Jesus dealt with it. We can deal with it the same way. We need to reflect Jesus in that. So as a citizen, remember that you are a citizen of heaven. Let that flow your words, that flow your heart, and your actions. We must represent Jesus Christ in the heavens he dwells in. Amen? Amen? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are thankful for your word that gives us guidance and direction in all kinds of situations and circumstances. Even in the world of politics, You have guidance for us. Lord, wherever we may stand on issues, let us always seek to stand on the foundation of your word and your Son. Let us seek to be representatives of him. Not necessarily our backgrounds or our political flavors, but let us remember that more than anything, the fact that we know Jesus should direct our actions and words and our thoughts. We thank you for the example that was set for us by the Lord. We ask you for the strength, the direction, the wisdom to follow that example. We give you the praise and the glory. We pray for our nation. We pray for our leaders. Lord, every century since Adam's sin has been dangerous. No less dangerous now. Preserve us to do your work. Protect us from evil. Give us wisdom to navigate the dangerous waters of this world in faith and in victory. We surrender ourselves to you in Jesus' name. All of God's people said, Amen. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Let's stand and close in worship.